All right, good to see everyone. Tonight, before we got rolling, I'd like to just acknowledge Darryl Green and getting your number retired. I got a chance to show a video to the team last night of him, and so many of these guys, like a lot of things, don't know that era of football, and to see that speed and that playmaking ability, just remarkable. And in fact, Doug had spoke on Saturday, and during the '87 season, I believe, a playoff punt return for a touchdown, and just the remarkable plays. So it's important to know where you want to go to know what's been possible here. And I think there's not many guys that represent, what it can happen, on and off the field more than Darryl. So for him and his family and a jersey retirement, great way to honor somebody that's meant a lot to this franchise. I just want to acknowledge him before we got started. Then as we get going for the game, I thought, the message in this week, could we get stronger and find areas to improve upon to do that? And there were a number of them. We knew there was another gear for us to find, and we had to dig for it and find it. And, I was pleased to see the fight, of what we saw, and the guys really starting fast. I thought Dante's touchdown was really the thing that set it off as they were driving down the field to go, create momentum for us on a really cool night, again, to honor Darryl. So with all that said, glad to get rolling with you guys.
Can you give us an update on Jaden?
I cannot give you an update on Jaden, but I will just as soon as we find out. We'll do some further tests tomorrow, John, and then when we get together in the afternoon, we'll give you an update. But I don't have anything for everybody else asking the same thing, same answer. So just wanted to make sure I was super clear on that.
When did you realize he was hurt?
After the first drive. And so maybe at the end of the first drive, right when we're down by the goal line, John. But it was into that space, throw, testing, tent, then to go inside. So that's when I knew. And I'll give you some updates just as soon as I find out tomorrow, but I do not have any tonight.
Do you know if it was on that 46-yard
I
run?
don't.
Okay.
I don't, but I do know it happened during that drive at some point, Nikki.
How do you think Marcus Mariota did stepping in?
You know what? I'm really proud of Marcus, and it's been tough start to it, IR and getting an injury. And so for him to come back and, see that kind of poise in the game, there was no flinch. And this happened early, after the very first drive for the offense, for him to go in and go. And I look back to see post-practice who's out on the field working, he and other guys going through the script. And so, I tip my hat to he and Tavita and Dave Blau and others that are spending the extra time. So if your moment gets called, that you're ready to deliver for the team. And I think that's a really powerful thing. And he was able to do that tonight.
Dan, you mentioned Dante Fowler's pick six, but Emmanuel Forbes also with an interception. What does it mean to this team and this defense to have him come back from missing the game last week and have that kind of play?
Well, I think, number one, we're really emphasizing, finding ways to create takeaways. And I thought our offense did a good job of owning it. So it goes for us in all three phases. We knocked one out on kickoff, but we didn't get it. And but it, just the fact that we think about the ball, we talk it and live in it. So to come up +2, that's a big deal for us. And it doesn't happen by accident. You got to put the work in to do it. But we feel like we've got more space to grow in that area. If we can create possessions for our offense, that's the name of the game. But to finish +2 is a big deal for us.
Hey, Coach. Congratulations on the win. First week having to replace Jonathan Allen on the defensive front. Obviously, Johnny Newton kind of the main focus this week, but not just Johnny. How did you feel like the entire unit operated?
Yeah, I thought once we settled into the game, I thought the guys did a really strong job. We've got a lot of respect for their run game, and I think I might even talked about that interior and the running back and, the yards that he's had. So we thought that would be a challenge for us. We didn't have the performance that we wanted in the run game last week, knowing that was an excellent team in the run. So we really, pushed the guys into that space. We said, could we get stronger and find margins to do that on both sides? And so tonight, to be able to do that was important for us.
Coach, Terry McLaurin spoke about how this team has set for itself a standard and an expectation. Is that for real?
Yes, I'll talk about the first part first. We did create a standard as a team together, and that was from the players, and that began way back in the spring, the week before the draft. And we put some things down on paper of who we wanted to be and how we wanted to do business together. we felt it was important to establish that before those 20, maybe it was 24, 25 rookies arrived, to say, this is how we do things here at the Commanders. This is how we practice. This is the way you go. This is what you do for a walkthrough. And so having these guys get connected early, that was very important. So that's the standard. It's called the Commander Standard that they wrote together. And then expectation is just us constantly like searching for improvement. And I think we're in week 7 or in that space, and we dug in just yesterday again to say we had some things that every player wanted to work on through the first 7 weeks, and into the next, chapter. Is that going to be the same thing or something different? So we love that we're trying to chase that hard to become better, and it might be as an individual thing, a small technique thing. So Terry's right that we work really hard at that.
Dan, I know you were in the middle of coaching the team. If there's any way to kind of go over the sequence of people that had to be involved in deciding whether Jaden could come back or not, and
Sure.
who finally said he cannot come back today.
Yeah, that's from the medical side, Dave. And so, with Al and the team doctors, so they were very clear in the communication. We warmed him up. He threw some. We took him to the tent. Then the next step was we're going to take inside and, get images there. And he'll do some more images tomorrow. But that's the process that it goes through. And the good news that it was really clear. This is where we're at. So we had a couple guys. He went down. Brandon Coleman went down. Diami was able to come back. So that process, just like calling a play, is really important because you have to go, if, for instance, on Brandon, it also goes to the special teams coach, on, PAT and field goal. And so the communication that has to take place on an injury, it goes all the way through. And so we've worked hard at that. It wasn't at a level that we loved during the preseason, and we got better at that as we're going. And so those are all things to grow from. And I was certainly pleased with the communication they gave me tonight, Dave.
Dan, why do you think it's important to show in things that happened here in the past to create the idea that they could be created to happen again?
Yeah, I think it's very important. I think to go where you want to go, it's important to understand the history of the franchise. And although a lot of the players, didn't know Darryl or any of his speed, and they saw the one of him chasing down as a rookie, Tony Dorsett, and, it was overwhelming the speed. And so just showing some of those plays, when I showed that, to get where you want to go, it's important to understand where you've been and what is possible in a career. And so not everybody's going to have a Darryl Green career, but it is possible to show the remarkable things that can be done both on and off the field. So it was just an easy way to highlight him and show that. And quite honestly, we had about another 50 players that were at our walkthrough on Saturday. And I met so many players there on this alumni weekend. So to have those two things in concert was really important. I want them to know they're a part of helping this next generation of guys coming through, and we want them to be a part of it. And we respect the job that they did because it was at a world-class level. And so it was really cool for me to meet some of the alumni that came on Saturday and here for this weekend in specific.
Dan, you've preached from the summer on, or even before that, about the importance of consistency and being competitive. You guys have shown that week in and week out. To even teams that were viewed as like Super Bowl teams or struggle against maybe what Carolina is kind of right now. But you guys came out there, took care of business as you've done every other week. What does that say to you about where this is in their message getting through to the guys?
I think, and you know this, Ben, that's the central theme of our program is going to be competing. And sometimes it's competing really against yourself to see how good you can get. And other times, like now and during this week, could we compete to get stronger and find ways to get better and acknowledge that we've got work to do and stuff to hit on. And so although this game obviously was Carolina, we made it as much about us during the week of preparation as we could because we really wanted to dig in on ourselves and find the next gear and find the things that we can do. And so it just so happened that a moment like tonight where Marcus steps into that space, I wasn't surprised that he performed well because I see kind of the extra things that he does, but it was good to see that confidence back in him and to see the joy on the sideline for him because everybody feels his support. Not just Jaden. Everybody does. And he's got that kind of impact about him. He's been through it. He's got his own journey. But he's a really excellent teammate, and the guys feel that.
We've talked about when guys have been hurt, we're not going to put somebody out there if they can't go full bore. Does that go quadruple for number 5?
It'd be the same as everybody, yeah. So if he can go, then that would be the case, and if he can't, then we won't. But we won't put he or any other guys into a space where, you know, they could jeopardize something. So I don't have any information, like I said, medically, so please don't speculate on that.
Take 2 more. Coach, how big was it to get Brian Robinson back today?
It was big. You just feel his strength, you know, and the pile moves forward. And it was the right call to hold him last week. It wasn't the easiest call. It was the more difficult right over the easier wrong, you know, because he wanted to go, but he wasn't himself in terms of what he could do. And so I felt early on in practice, even though it was hard not to have him last week, it was the right decision. And it was great to have him back out there today and get him back into his space and going. It was really important for us.
Yeah, with Marcus, you missed on his first couple passes. When did you start to see him maybe get a rhythm going? Was there a particular play or anything that stood out to you?
I don't know. It's a good question, John. Maybe that'd be a good follow-up for me for tomorrow. I agree early on, like, you know, you got to get into the rhythm of the game. And so if you miss a couple early, that's okay, you know, and he uses his legs, obviously. And just like 5 in the early part of it, we said, remain a passer and find some spaces down the field. So I feel like that would be one of the things that I know, you know, he'll want to work on. But, man, you feel his speed, don't you? And just his legs. And so although he's played a while, there were some plays today that you felt his speed. All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.